Yes, will do.
I'd like to call this evening's meeting of the Concord City Council to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes. Councilor Brown. Here. Mayor Champlin.
Present.
Councilor Fennessy.
Present.
Councilor Councilor Grady Sexton.
Here.
Councilor Horn.
Here.
Councilor Keach.
Here.
Councilor Kretovic.
Here.
Councilor Kurtz.
Here.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Here.
Councilor McNamara.
Here.
Councilor Schlosser.
Here.
Councilor Schultz.
Here.
Councilor Sekou.
Here.
And Councilor Todd.
Here. Excellent. Thank you. If it is not objectionable to the council, I would like to take a single vote on the approval of the meeting minutes from our January 3rd council orientation, our January 4th city swearing-in ceremony, and our January 8th regular city council meeting.
Motion to accept all 3 minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The minutes are adopted. By way of an agenda overview, I would just like to acknowledge that apparently today is the birthday of our city manager. Yeah.
We sing?
I will just say that he is legal now. We can take him out for a drink afterwards, as long as there is not a quorum.
It's prohibited by law. Too old then.
All right.
Not invited. That's
Right. So, I believe we have on the agenda a presentation by Friends of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail. No, I guess not. Yes?
We have a PowerPoint. Where do I plug it in?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have the password, but Matt does.
Matt, I think Matt can help, yeah. And by the way, while they're doing that, I would just like to mention that for those who need assistance in hearing tonight's meeting here in the room, there are earphones available tied directly to the sound system. They're available from the Concord Television, Concord TV staff in the back of the room.
I believe I just ripped my slacks on the back of that. Mayor Champlin, ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you for having us here tonight. As soon as we can get the screen up, we're going to make the best use we can of our 10 minutes. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse, recovering from earlier illness. Okay, so my name is Dick Lemieux. I'm the president of the Friends of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail, and with me is Nick Holmes, who is the vice president. We have 3 other members of our board are in the back, in the front of the room. We have, let's see, we have Patrice Raish, we have Scott Clark, and Katie Murray are with us. So first, I'd like to give you a little background of who we are, what we've done, and then we're going to show you our project and tell you quickly where we're going from here. So. Friends of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail, FMRGT, has its roots in TPAC. The Transportation Policy Advisory Committee was formed by Council in 2008, and immediately TPAC set about to create subcommittees. One of those subcommittees was a bike committee. The bike committee set out to develop Concord's very first bike master plan, which took from 2009, 2010, and then in 2011 it was finished and adopted. There were 3 meetings that we had in connection with developing a bike master plan, and over 100 people attended those meetings, and we found that there was a lot of public demand for off-road bike facilities, bike paths and trails. The bike master plan was adopted by the planning board in 2011, and that part of that plan was to to do a feasibility study to determine if building a trail along the river was actually feasible from an engineering standpoint. So we engaged a consultant. We got a grant, a federal grant to pay for it. And the feasibility study showed that, yes, it was feasible. And that study was accepted by council in March of 2011, and it was adopted by the planning board and rolled into the non-motorized element of the master plan. So since the 12 years we've been in business, we're proud of our achievements. We've raised over $2 million between us acting alone and us acting in concert with the city. So the city has applied for 3 grants totaling and received 3 grants totaling $1.375 million. And we helped a lot with those. We like to think that we were responsible for them. And on our own, we raised almost $700,000 in grants from. We have over 475 people on our donor list now. And some of that money, a lot of that money has gone through the trail already. We've already donated almost $550,000. You can see the 4 projects there. We've donated $84,000 to design a boardwalk that hasn't been built yet. We paid $3,250 for the Pan Am appraisal for property that is still being negotiated. We paid $62,300 toward the cost of the trail that's been built in Terrell Park. And we have contributed $300,000 to the sunflower field section, which will be built this spring. We have also spent many hundreds of volunteer hours removing debris from the cornfields where the sunflowers are now. We applied for and received grants to remove invasive species like Japanese knotweed, excuse me, poison ivy, and bittersweet from the cornfields area. We have built 2 kiosks, including the one in Terrell Park and the one near the sunflower field. And we held numerous nature walks, snowshoe walks, and so forth, engaging the public and showing them the area where the trail is going to be built. But I think our proudest achievement is that we've done all this in now 13 years. So we were told when we got into this that it usually takes groups like us, like ours, 20 years before they see the first section of trail built. Our first section, with your cooperation, was built in 9 years, and our second section will be done in 13 years. Go ahead.
Thank you. The Merrimack River Greenway Trail is going to be the keystone to the Granite State Rail Trail. And I know many of you are familiar with the Granite State Rail Trail, but for those of you who are not, it is a rail trail that is going to run all the way from the Connecticut River up in Lebanon, all the way down to Salem. It's 110 miles in length between 8 different nonprofit organizations, 4 cities, 14 towns. We're all putting together different pieces of that rail trail. Large sections of it are done. For instance, from the Hannah Duston Memorial north to Lebanon, done. That's the Northern Rail Trail, the Muskoma Rail Trail. There are sections done from Manchester on south. There's still some small gaps down there, but in large part from Manchester down to Salem, done and complete. The biggest gap in the Granite State Rail Trail is the section from Hannah Duston, the Boscawen line, down to Manchester. And when we get the Merrimack River Greenway Trail done, that is going to be a huge chunk out of that missing section. We're very proud of what we're doing. The section, the Merrimack River Greenway Trail, can be divided essentially into 2 major components. The first component is a 6.7 long rail trail. It runs along the west side of the river, all the way from the Hannah Duston Monument down to Horseshoe Pond, down by the Pierce Manse. The second large component is a 5.8 mile long greenway trail, which runs on the east side of the river, essentially from the Kiwanis Park or the Everett Arena or the post office down to the Pembroke line. Those are the 2 major components, and the third major component is the tough inner city section that connects those 2 components. I wanted to just highlight some of the sections that we're talking about, because 3 of these sections relate to items that are on the consent agenda for tonight. As you know, one of the items that's on the consent agenda tonight is authorizing the city manager to apply for the federal RAISE grant. If we are awarded that federal RAISE grant, the federal government will supply 100% of the funds for 2 major sections of the trail. Before we get to that, I'm jumping ahead of myself. This is the northernmost section of the rail trail, 1.7 miles long. We call it the Pembroke section. There is a TAP grant that has been approved for that. Once the city acquires the land for that, we're prepared to raise the matching funds and go forward with that. This is the 4-mile stretch of the rail trail that is subject to the RAISE grant application. It will run from Sewell's Falls Road all the way down to Horseshoe Pond. The other section that is part of the RAISE grant application is the boardwalk. That's a key component between the Terrell Park section and the Sunflower Fields section. It's a very expensive section because it's essentially a bridge. It's a short bridge, but it's a bridge that crosses sensitive wetlands. So those things are on the agenda tonight, consent agenda for the RAISE grant application. The other thing that's on the agenda for tonight is the 6 Loudon Road easement. We've been in discussions with the property owner there. He is supportive of our efforts to construct a section of the rail trail along that beautiful section of the river right on the land that he owns, that LLC owns. So we're hopeful that we can get that easement into place. This is another view of this key central portion of the Merrimack River Greenway. I just want it, in order to orient you, south is to the left, north is to the right. The first section down here on the left is the Terrell Park section. That's the section that we built in 2020. The big section here that is white in the center is the section that we call the Sunflower section. It runs around the new sunflower fields. That is going out to bid in the next few weeks and should be constructed this summer. The next section that I wanted to point out is the multi-use path on the bridge. That's under design right now. That's slated for construction in 2026. There's the boardwalk down in the lower left. That's the section that is related to the RAISE grant application that I talked about a minute ago. And then lastly, the I-93 crossing. The I-93 crossing is under design right now. It's slated for construction in 2030. The Greenway is going to be a part of that design process. The bottom line is that if everything goes well, we may have this key component of the rail trail, the Merrimack River Greenway Trail, completed within the next 6 to 8 years if everything goes smoothly.
So that launches us into where we're going from here. So we are going to continue to help the city, the staff, fill out and apply for the RAISE grant by filling out the application. And we hope you approve it tonight because it's due in 2 weeks. So we have people who are hustling. We are, as soon as the railroad right property is in city hands, we're going to launch into a fundraising campaign where we're going to try our best to raise $250,000 to provide the matching money to build that section of rail trail. As soon as we find out that the easement has been signed and the city has permission to go into that 6 Loudon Road property, we're going to start raising money for that. We're going to try to pay for all of that ourselves without city help. And long term, we're going to always be here. We're going to be advocating for a completed trail. We're going to be looking to make it off-road and accessible to the extent we can, and all the way from Pennacook to Bosquen, just like we set out to do. So we're here. We've been spending 12 years building a new place to play, a new place to be active or relax, a new way to get around. And this is a slide that we show to our significant fundraisers where we're asking them to help us. But we know that the city is taking the lead, and we're here to help you. So that's the bottom line, is we're ready to be your partner. that's all we have.
Thank
Be
you.
happy to answer questions.
Questions?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Councilor Kretovic.
Thank you so much for coming. You know I love to see you guys. A couple of times previously when we've been looking at grant funding for the Merrimack River Greenway Trail, and I'm looking specifically at the area around Sewell Falls and the scenic trail riders that is up there, is the RAISE grant going to impact their business at all, or have you been able to work things out with them?
The RAISE grant, if the city gets the RAISE grant, it will impact them, but they will probably be gone by then. Their contract, their lease agreement ends this year in June or July, and they will be most impacted by the TAP grant. So the TAP grant that's already been awarded and it's sitting ready to be spent, that will affect it first.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This is a wonderful, exciting presentation. And the grant application is in 2 weeks. When would we find out if we?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know when they'll be releasing it. I imagine it'll be up to a year, perhaps.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The grant category is nationwide, and all the decisions are made in Washington. So there'll be I'm sure there'll be hundreds of applications. So
Okay.
we hope we're competitive. Thank you again. Thank you all.
Thank you. Well, the mayor gets the last word. I just want to say, it has been a long process, even though you say 20 years, 13 years, better than 20 years. It's been a long time that you folks have been working on this project. And I just want to thank you on behalf of everyone in the city for the Friends of the Merrimack River Greenway Trail, for your persistence, for your fundraising, for your vision. This is going to be a great asset to the city once this entire system is completed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
will this,
I have some light reading for you all here. I'll just,
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Councilor Schlosser.
will this presentation be part of our minutes? Will that be available to the councilors? Or
Will
could
you
they make
share?
it?
Will you share your presentation?
Can
with
you
the city
share
clerk?
your presentation with the city clerk so that she can circulate it to the members of the city
I'd appreciate
council?
that. Thank you.
Next item of business, excuse me, is adoption, pardon me, of the consent calendar. I'll note that item number 27 was pulled from the consent calendar at the request of Councilor Brown, and I think that's the only item that has been pulled.
Your Honor, I will be recusing myself from item number 26 of the consent agenda as I have a family member who is a member of the police
Did you
department.
say 21 and
26.
What about 21?
I did not get 21.
I think 21 also.
Oh, yes, as well as 21.
All right,
I did
thank
not
you.
see that one.
Councilor Fennessy?
I need to recuse myself with respect to two of the appointments in item 36. One of them is a coworker of mine, and the other one is the wife of a coworker of mine.
Noted, thank you.
Move approval with those.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Consent calendar is adopted. Thank you. That moves us to our public hearing. Madam Clerk.
The first item is a resolution appropriating the sum of $544,318.75 as a transfer to the Bridge Reserve Fund and accepting the sum of $544,318.75 for this purpose.
Thank you.
Your Honor, members of the council, the city of Concord, as you all know, has 21 municipally owned bridges that are maintained by the city. 2 of those bridges are included in the municipal red list program of the DOT, and 2 of those bridges, which one we just looked at now is the New Hampshire 9 over the Loudon Road, which should be part of this whole trail system. As a matter of fact, over the Merrimack River, and the Ironworks Road Bridge over the Turkey River. And we established a bridge reserve, you'll recall, in 2023 when we received some dollars from the state. So the idea here would be to put these dollars into that reserve account so that when you're doing these bridge projects, you'll be able to withdraw from these, this reserve to help fund these instead of having to bond or raise taxes to do this. So the idea is simply put the dollars into the reserve.
Thank you. Any questions for the city manager? I'll open this public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I will declare the public hearing closed. Madam City Clerk, the next item.
It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title V Administrative Code, Chapter 34 Personnel Rules and Regulations, Probationary Appointments. It would modify the time frame for probation for original appointments within the Information Technology Department from 1 year to 6 months.
Thank you.
Your Honor, members of the council, I've asked Jen Johnson to come forward. She's our Human Resources and Labor Relations Director to present this.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Jennifer Johnson, the Director of Human Resources and Labor Relations. We are seeking to change, in conjunction with the IT Director, the period of time that new employees in information technology are on probation when they're hired or promoted. Currently, they are at a 1-year probationary appointment, and that is only similar to public safety employees. Our police and fire employees are on probation for 1 year before they become non-probationary employees. And we have found that to be difficult in the current employment climate that we're in, to hold someone on probation for a year in IT. We have other skilled professionals throughout the city in engineering, in code, where they're skilled at electricity, plumbing, etc., and they're only at a 6-month probation. So we felt that this would be comparable to those types of professions. This does hold them back from getting a step increase. You have to wait a year as opposed to 6 months. So it also holds someone back from accepting a job if they know that they won't know that they'll be a permanent member of that organization for up to a year. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Johnson?
One, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Councilor
Thank you. Curious, when they, if they were to come off probation after 6 months, at that point, do they receive a step increase? Is that the way it works?
Yes, that's the way it works.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now open the public hearing on item 40B. Would anyone like to testify? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on the public hearings and the public hearing. I'll now move to the public hearing action phase. Madam Clerk? Oh, I'm sorry.
The first item is a resolution appropriating the sum of $544,318.75 as a transfer to the Bridge Reserve Fund and accepting the sum of $544,318.75 for this purpose.
Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All right, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favor of adopting the resolution as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Resolution passes. Madam Clerk?
Next item is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title V Administrative Code, Chapter 34, Personnel Rules and Regulations for probationary appointments.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favor of adopting the resolution or the ordinance as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. I will note that item 41 did pass with the necessary 2/3 vote. All right. We move to unfinished business. Do I have a motion?
I motion to remove item 44 from consent.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. It is, the item is removed from the table.
Would you like the city clerk to
Is there a
read it?
motion, is there a motion on action on this item?
Would you like the city clerk to read it?
Oh, I'm sorry, the city clerk should read it. Thank you. Thank you,
Very
Counselor.
welcome, sir.
So the item being taken off the table is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Brady Sullivan or related entity for private use of city property located on Store Street for improvements associated with redevelopment of 11 Stickney Avenue.
Motion to set this aside for public hearing in March.
Second. No, you don't need a public hearing.
Oh, you don't?
Nope. You've already, it's a resolution authorizing me to enter into this agreement, so you don't need to do
Motion to let the city manager into the agreement.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? We're a little rough around the edges this morning.
We are, this morning.
It's been a long morning for me. Yeah, Super Bowl. I didn't fly back from Africa anyway. All those in favor, please, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
Ayes have it. Next business is consideration of the item, pull from the consent agenda.
So item 27 was pulled from consent by Councilor Brown. It's a report from the Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee, the Parks and Recreation Director, and the General Services Director regarding scheduled renovations of the Garrison Park Pool.
Councilor, would you like to speak?
Yes. So Garrison Pool is the only pool in Ward 5, and it has been closed since 2019. So it's been closed for the last 4 years, and this is looking at renovating a pool that has not been used at all. And I know that there was no pools were open in 2020, and I do have some additional questions that I would like to know, such as the cost of what was the actual cost of constructing the White Park splash pad. I think it's important to think about the pay rate that lifeguards received, because they were receiving $12 in 2022, a significant bump in 2023, and I actually spoke with lifeguards during National Night Out, and I said, how's it going? What made a difference? And they said, definitely the pay. So I think looking at pools, we might not have had as many lifeguards because the pay rate wasn't comparable to the responsibility. Plus, I was curious if there was a breakdown of user by pool. There are 6 pools, or I believe there were 5 that were open. I'd be curious to learn which pools were the most popular.
Try to answer some of those questions tonight. Mr. Gill, could you come forward? What's your objection to Store Street?
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, City Council. Where would you like me to start?
Can you tell me this is probably a Mr. Chip Chesley. What is the breakdown in user use of the pools?
I can get you a document. I keep that. We have documentation going back all the way to 2000. So we do it by pool, by season. I think one of the questions you had regarding, Garrison Pool was not open during the past 4 years. Traditionally that is the least used pool. Okay. And I think that the challenge was, obviously COVID shut everything down, and then we slowly started getting the pools back open. Before COVID, we had 45 or so lifeguards every summer. We got down to the mid-20s. Last year, we were back up into the upper 30s, but we do need that low 40s. On payroll, that's a 7-day-a-week operation. Every pool is open. There's 3 lifeguards per pool. So it's just a numbers game. So we're getting back to normal. The pay has definitely helped. This year, its starting pay is $16 for lifeguards. I think that will be instrumental in probably getting us a full slate of lifeguards. The challenge also during COVID, just for when we look back, is certifications are good for 2 years. The lifeguard classes were not being taught 2000 or 2021. So then you lose 5 or 10 new lifeguards every summer. So now we're just getting back into last year's new guards are returning, so it's just, it was unfortunate during those 2 years of no classes and then COVID.
So do we want a report?
Yes, I would like a report.
Looking at it by pool type of thing?
Sure.
Okay.
I believe, sorry,
Councilor Kretovic?
I believe that Counselor Fennessy was
sorry,
first.
Councilor
You
Fennessy.
didn't.
Sure. I just had some questions for Mr. Gill. When RPAC looked at this recommendation, did they discuss the usage of the various pools?
Yes, they did.
And during that meeting, was part of what RPAC was looking at was the fact that there was such an increase in usage at White Park once the splash pad was installed there?
Yes, they were.
Councilor Kretovic?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gill, prior to the switching of the districts and the ward lines, this was a park that was in Ward 3. And the lowest usage was, in fact, in part because it is not a universally accessible pool, correct? It doesn't have universal access. It's not
Yes, it does.
handicap
Yes, it does.
It does now?
Even before, all the pools since 1998 have had access, either an ADA lift or a zero entry.
So the $650,000 budget item is for the pool itself and bringing that back online, or is that for the splash park, or the splash pad?
So what we did before we started the cycle of replacing pools, which started at Merrill, if I remember correctly, we went around. Is that the first one we did?
Yes.
Or was it Keach?
I have to read my report.
Yeah. So what we did is we went to the city council and our packet said, do you want, understanding that each one of these are going to be $500,000 plus, do we still want to do 7 neighborhood pools? And the resounding response that you got from the constituents was yes, let's do all the pools, even though I think we're the only, I'll say it, but I'm pretty sure it's true, the only one this side of the Mississippi River that has that many pools per population that are open to the public, and of course are free. And you decided you wanted to keep that. So then as we went around and replaced these, we got to the point where when we came to White Park, was do you want a pool or do you want to do a splash pad? The council said, let's do a splash pad there. So as we're coming along, our assumption is that you want, unless you change your mind, that we will replace each one as we go along. And the question and the opportunity here is before we go and put a pool there, do you want a pool or do you want a splash pad? Splash pads will probably cost you, Chip, $100,000 more, maybe, than a pool, depending on what we're doing. So it's more expensive. It's not like you're doing that to save money, because essentially you're putting a pool underground and then you have a splash pad on top. So this is not a money-saving opportunity. This is a use and availability to the community question for you.
I just had some follow-up questions. Concord Housing Authority, they have typically funded the certification program for the lifeguards for the city, is that correct?
No, the city covers the lifeguard certification is $385 per person. Concord Housing and Redevelopment does the free swim lessons for the community.
Perfect. I knew that there was
Yes.
something.
Yeah,
and,
they've been great partners over the past 10 years or so.
and the Concord Housing Authority that is across the street from this pool that hasn't had a pool since 2019, where are those kids going?
I'm not sure.
Okay. When the pool was
Follow-up
closed.
question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had a series, Your Honor. Would you mind if I ask a follow-up?
Go ahead.
Thank you. When the pool was closed at Kimball Park and Garrison was closed, all the kids that live around Fosterville, plus the kids that live around Garrison School, Garrison Park, where were they going?
During the 2000 and 2021, I'm not sure.
Would you be surprised if the kids in Fosterville were going up North State Street to the Rolfe Park pool because there was concern about crossing through the high-traffic areas to get to White Park? That's a long distance for a child to go to get access to a pool, just as anecdotally.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all.
Councilor Horn?
Since the White Park splash pad has been open, do you have a sense now the cost of upkeep of a splash pad versus a pool? Is there a significant difference that way?
only one summer, and right now it's about the same. We have, on the recreation side, we have one staff person that has to be there.
Right.
Versus the 3, but then we kept the splash pad open. I think it was an extra 2.5 weeks. So we're not, the goal is going forward is to have that as a slightly longer season. So there's no real cost savings on our side. It might be one position, dollar-wise, but.
Even outside of personnel, the actual physical upkeep, is there any difference?
This young man to my left will answer that question.
First time I've been called young here. I'll take it. Tom said it best. Splash pad is basically a pool underground. So as far as utilities and chemicals, they're about comparable from an annual cost.
Excuse me,
Council Todd?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I know I read it, and I think I read it in the City Council Priorities Report from January 31st as part of our packet tonight. But could you just refresh for the public the success of the White Park splash pad, and also just a request to include those statistics? I assumed you would in your compilation, but I guess what happened there was it kind of far exceeded the expectations, right?
I don't know how many people remember, the last time we did the pool in the late 90s, I started with the city in 1998, and every summer from 98 to about 2004, I spent many hours every day at the pools because we're at capacity. There was 1,500 more kids in town, but it was crazy busy. Everybody was upset because they couldn't get into pools, and it was a wonderful success from you guys. This year was the same. The attendance at White Park was over 11,000 people. That far exceeded even the early 2000 numbers that we've been tracking. The highest back then was about 9,000, and that was at Rollins. So it far exceeded expectations on our end. It was phenomenal.
Thank you.
Councilor Grace Sexton.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is it possible when you compile this report to include the numbers of residents versus non-residents?
We can do the non-resident pool passes.
Yes.
We don't check that per pool. We just make sure they have it, but we can definitely do the number sold, but it doesn't break down what pool they went to.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you. I would like to ask Mr. Chesley, what did it actually cost for the installation of the splash pad?
About $550,000.
It's $550, okay.
Councilor Kurtz.
Hi, thank you for your report. When you compile the information for our further reading, I would be curious to know about swim lessons and if they're at capacity or if we have any indicators that there's more demand for swim lessons. I'm thinking about the trade-offs, pool to splash pad, and what the community might need.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know numbers.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Your Honor. Given that this is a report to council to actually look at modifying the budget for the 2025, I don't think that we're actually voting on anything tonight other than to ask the city manager to change the budget line item coming up in our budget cycle that's going to be in May, and we can actually give our city staff plenty of time to answer all these questions for us. And that I would move that we just approve the report that was on the consent agenda.
Is that a motion?
Yes, it is, sir.
Second.
Motion moved and seconded. Councilor Fennessy.
I just had a question, sort of a follow-up from what Councilor Grady Sexton asked. Can you just explain to the council how the sort of daily usage is calculated, how recreation comes up with that number, and why you wouldn't have specific numbers for non-residents?
Great question. It's really high-tech. We have a staff member there, it's a certified lifeguard. They take their rotation, and when they're on the rotation, we have a sheet. We count how many people come in and how many people go out. So it's consistently, the human factor is there, but it's a consistent way we've been doing it since the 1990s.
Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Yes, thank you. Just in accepting this report, I see that it does say it would schedule a public meeting with residents near Garrison Pool by March 15th. So it's actually moving along a lot faster, and I would advise against moving that fast. when my children were small, we frequently used White Park Pool for them to take swim, or they would do swim lessons. But the pools are not just a neighborhood pool, because if something happened in one pool and it was shut down, frequently families would travel around to the next pool. And I know that when White Park Pool was closed, an incident happened, I saw families walking the stretch down to Rollins, which was over a mile. So I really feel that having an extra pool is really important, because just in the latest AARP, I believe Concord was listed as one of the top 6 communities for an aging population. And the splash pad really is better for children. A pool is better for adults and more community members. So I feel where I like to use the river, during last summer I was unable to because it was so dangerous. So I used the pools more than usual. It's a safe place. It's a safe place to connect with your neighbors. There are lifeguards. We have seen a lot of drownings happening, and I feel if we don't provide an opportunity for people to cool off quickly in a free, paid for by their taxes, I think this really is a service that residents have earned. And I feel that if our non-resident pool passes are so popular, we should increase the rate. I know it's $125. Let's increase it to $200. We are one of the only cities that has public pools. So we are attracting people to our city for that reason. So let's combine that with food trucks, and we can really make a killing. But I do see that these pools are mini community centers. They're really important. We are bounded by rivers. We want to keep people safe. We want to continue the swim lessons. And in the report in today's agenda, there are 485 kids that receive swim lessons. And I think that is really wonderful. So.
That's quite a bit.
Thank you. Mr. Gill, if we don't have enough lifeguards this year, is Garrison Pool going to be open?
My recommendation right now is to look at the pools we've traditionally opened based on past attendance.
And that would mean Garrison Pool likely would not, because it's been closed since 2019.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Fennessy.
I was just going to speak to, I think we should adopt the report. RPAC looked at this issue, and we had a pretty extensive discussion about why, sort of the relative merits of moving forward with replacing the pool or having it as a splash pad. And one of the things that we talked long and hard about is the fact that this pool has been closed since 2019. Traditionally, over the course of 20 years, it's been the lowest attended pool. And if we want to increase opportunities for people to cool off so they're not going to the river, this is a great opportunity to provide another cooling opportunity, particularly for our youngest members of the community who aren't perhaps swimmers yet or may not be comfortable in a pool setting. And so that's why RPAC suggested moving forward with this. Obviously, there's going to be a community meeting to see what residents think, but from the perspective of RPAC, it was in the best interest of the city to invest in a splash pad rather than another pool.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Brown again?
Yes, well, I would like to amend the motion so that to push it out to have a meeting in May so that we have more time. The RPAC only discussed this in December, and I don't believe that the minutes were immediately available. This gives me more time as the ward counselor for Ward 5 to connect with residents in that area who have not had an opportunity to use a pool and talk with other community members. This gives me more time to do my due diligence, and also because the splash pad was so popular, having another pool means that we can disperse those folks that are cooling. We have another water body available to folks that wasn't available last year.
So your motion is to hold the public meeting
Hold
in
the
May.
public meeting, yes, in May.
Is there a second?
There was a pending motion.
She's making a motion to amend the current motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to amend the resolution to move the public meeting on a splash pad to May, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
Those have it. We have a motion on the table to adopt the resolution as presented. Any further discussion? Councilor Kretovic.
I just have one item. I appreciate where Councilor Brown is coming from. This meeting is going to be held at the community center, not actually near Garrison Pool where the residents live. And so perhaps a second meeting further down, depending on what happens in March, might be a good compromise here.
Is that
That's
noted
my
by
own
staff?
comment.
I can probably have the meeting closer to the neighborhood. There's
Thank
a
you so
couple of
much.
good partners there that would open up some space, so worth the ask. Good point.
Okay. Are we ready for the vote? All those in favor? Councilor
Could you
Schlosser.
clarify the vote? We're voting to accept this report, is that right? That's the.
That is the motion.
Thank you.
Am I correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, you are.
All right. Does the council have the resolution or the motion read again?
I can. It was a motion by Councilor Kretovic to accept the report as written.
All right. Ready for the vote? All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
All right, ayes have it. Thank you. We do have two suspense items to take up today. The first, I'm sorry, Madam
Yes.
Clerk, you read the suspense item.
So just first a motion to,
I'd say motion is,
Consider-
I would
I'm sorry.
make a motion to suspend the rules.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Moved and seconded to suspend the rules. Thank you.
okay, so now, yes, the
We
first.
do have to take a vote, right?
Yes, thank you, sorry.
All those, thank you. It's a learning experience for all of us. All those in favor of suspending the rules, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? The ayes have it, and it passes by the required two-thirds majority. Madam Clerk.
Okay, so the first suspense item is a communication on behalf of the residents of Hills Court Condo Association inquiring as to how fees for their trash pickup are calculated, and it's recommended as a referral to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee.
Thank you.
Your Honor, although I enthusiastically support this, I will refrain as I'm a resident of that address.
Thank you for making that, for recusing yourself.
Neutral. I'd like to make the motion for that referral.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Councilor Todd.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just to let someone whose namesake goes to a very prominent park in the city know that that actually has been discussed already by Solid Waste Advisory Committee. They have a sort of a plan of action. It's a very complicated problem, but we're planning to try to move forward to come up with some kind of solution. So just so that the residents of Hills Avenue know that we are working on it, and we'll be happy to take this up further.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Grady Sexton.
Thank you, Your Honor. Counselor, would it be possible to reach out and let the constituent know that? Who's the chair?
Is that usually?
Councilor Todd is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That I assume that's usually the staff would let the person know that that's typical course of action. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think
Once you
That-
take
that
action.
there's pending
that there-
discussions about this so that they could attend a future meeting?
Yeah, well, what we could probably do is we could have, we could just get some kind of a roundup of what's been discussed so far, just generally. I don't see the meeting minutes yet, but once they come out, that'll give some indication as well that could be helpful to the residents, so, yeah.
Fantastic.
We'll
Thank
do
you so
that. Yeah,
much.
Thank you, Councilor. That's a great suggestion. Yeah. Ready for the vote? All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, second suspense item.
The next item is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title IV Zoning Code, Chapter 28, Article 28-2-4, allowable principal and accessory uses in zoning districts. is a staff recommendation to set this ordinance down for a public hearing to be held July 8th, 2024. In addition to that, to refer the ordinance to the planning board for their review and recommendations.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have a presentation by staff?
Are we adopting the report? Is that what we're doing?
We are adopting the report and we're referring it to planning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Discussion? Councilor Keach?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would just encourage the public to take note of the report and of the upcoming sessions with planning. I think this issue is complicated and probably has far-reaching implications. But it deserves a lot of discussion, and I think what we're doing tonight will facilitate that.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
I don't think we have a motion.
Oh, we don't have a motion, we just refer.
I'll be willing to make a motion.
Second.
Accept.
Right, moved and seconded. I am sorry. Super Bowl, I blame it on that. All right. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
All right, let's have it. Thank
She
you.
said she needed the motion, okay. Because you just were moving so fast, I think that it's important to read.
To repeat the motion.
To repeat the motion, we will do that in the future, Counselor.
Thank
Happy
you.
to. Yeah. All right, comments, requests by city councilors. Councilor Kretovic.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to bring to mind this great partnership that the City of Concord has with Ski the Beeve. Everybody knows they had their ski event a week or so ago. It snowed. That's what mattered. We had snow. Coming up on Thursday, the Recreation Advisory Board is taking up another partnership discussion with Ski the Beeve with regards to a snow-making machine at the driving range at Beaver Meadow. There has been a letter that was sent out to all the abutters of the golf course so that they can weigh in, but again, it should be open to the entire public so that they can participate in the conversation. The real gist of what's happening here is if Ski the Beeve gets a snow blower, snowmaker, that they can test out at Beaver Meadow at the driving range, they're going to run that overnight. So it'll be when it's more conducive for making snow. I would love to say I'm a snow person, but I'm not. I'm an indoor cat. And so the public is aware that that meeting is at the community center this Thursday at 5:30 in the afternoon to please come and give comment. It's a great opportunity to expand our skiing operations there if we can blow snow, because it was, as we all know, we haven't had quite a bit of it recently, but you're welcome to come and participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Grady Sexton.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to note that at our last Public Safety Advisory Board meeting, we learned that the new social worker that's embedded within the police department started last Monday, and we look forward to maybe once she's settled in a couple months, meeting her and learning more about the work that she's doing. So.
Councilor Brown and then Councilor Kurtz.
I would just like to acknowledge that it is Black History Month this month, and I would also like to point out that it is also David Gill's birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Is there going to be a joint party?
Did you know you were
This is
birthday
it.
buddies?
This is how we celebrate.
Well, I personally thank you both for spending your birthdays with us.
That's right. I'm the older one. That's right.
Kurtz.
Thank you. I just wanted to draw some attention to a new community program, picture the word community with unity in big letters, that is going to be running for the next 10 weeks at the Citywide Community Center. It's an open opportunity on Saturdays and Sundays for Concord and including Pennacook youth up to 12th grade to drop in, use the gym space, participate in arts activities or use materials. Two important things. This is outside of the hours that the community center is traditionally open, so big thanks to the city staff and Parks and Rec staff for finding staffing and making this time available, and also that the they are looking for adult volunteers. So if you are an indoor cat and you won't be skiing, please take a look at the Parks and Rec website. Children do need to be pre-registered. It's relatively low barrier, but please feel free to reach out to Parks and Rec if you need any guidance on how to access that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Siku.
I just wanted to say thank you for mentioning Black History Month, and it's an important month for all of us to learn, and it's an educational month. So please take your time. If there is any event that you heard about, to go learn. And the theme this year is about African American and the arts. We all love arts. We all love to learn. And as I always said, whenever there is those opportunity, embrace it and learn about it, because that's how we can make ourselves better. So it's a good theme this year, and I'm very excited about it because we are putting few events at work and sponsoring other events. So
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Keach.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of a long-time city employee, Donnie Morrison. He spent many years in the fire department. Big, strong, strapping, old-school firefighter that probably began going in smoke-filled buildings without air tanks, and probably in his last days preferred to do it that way. But good guy, a fireman's fireman, and he'll be missed.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager.
I just have one. I think, as you all recognize, our city solicitor's last day was Friday, Jim Kennedy. He's off to judge school, wherever he's doing, wherever they learn, they for the wig and the wig and the dress, that type of thing.
I hope not to see him soon.
I know. I think it's like 6 months of training. But Danielle, as you know, Pasek is our acting city solicitor, doing a fantastic job. I just ask you to take it easy on her, only because she's one, and we used to have two. So, but she's very capable of doing anything. She's fabulous, and you all know her. But just if you can hesitate, on something. I'll be glad to answer any legal questions you may have. But she's great, and she's going to be pulling 2 jobs for a little while here. So, thank you.
you answered my question, because I wanted to say for how long. You said a little while. You didn't.
A little. We're out doing a national search right now.
Okay.
Good. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you. I think the next order of business is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Moved by Councilor Clerk, seconded by Councilor Fennessy, I think. Anybody want to stay here any longer? No. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.